Would you guys like me to go over my gear now that it's mostly done now? Just like the process I use to craft each piece of gear? Yes, please. Okay. Caveat though, okay? I am in Trade League. Alright, before you get upset, okay? That doesn't mean I think I couldn't repeat it. It just means you do kind of have to trade for some of these pieces. Like, you can't craft it on natural instinct. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I don't make the rules. So, I'm gonna do a little quick rundown on how I got every single piece of gear. Caveat being that I did this in Trade League, so some pieces I obviously traded for. So let's go. So, starting with the rings, I bought this ring. This is probably rogue crafted. I got this off Bank for 2 divines. However, this was not the ring that I planned to make. And I'll show you my second ring, which is self-crafted, an amethyst ring. So this is closer to the ring that I was planning on making. And you could do this for the other ring as well, just as a reminder, right? Oh! My ass! So I have to turn those off. So, what you can do to craft the rings is the tried and true classic method of harvest crafting, right? So, what do? Now, just to show you Path of Exile real quick, you can see I have Life Recoup, Chaos Resist, and Cast Speed. So, what you can do, now, you don't necessarily need Recoup, it's just nice. And I decided to go for it, it's very nice. The important thing to note here is if you go to Jewelry Ring Tags, and you should be getting familiar with tags, by the way, this league in particular, because it's going to be important for later. Anyway, you'll notice if you look at caster tags, the only mod you can get is cast speed. So if you harvest Reforged Caster at the Horticrafty station here, it is guaranteed, right? This one right here. It is guaranteed to give you cast speed. And in the same vein, if you look at Chaos Resistance, you can see Chaos Res is the only tag there. So what you do, right? You either do Reforged Caster or Reforged Chaos until you get the another suffix that you want, right? With a good tier. So as you can see, I was doing Reforged Chaos at the time, and I got tier 2 Chaos Res, which is good enough, right? I would love tier 1, by the way, but anyway, it doesn't matter. That's good enough, and I ended up getting Recoup. This could be Dex, this could be another resistance roll, these are all great. Then, I didn't have the cast speed. What I did is I did suffixes cannot be changed, Reforged Caster, got lucky with the tier 1 there, which is beautiful, probably would have settled for tier 2 there. And then that was it. Now for the prefixes, again, worth pointing out, this is new to this league, and it sucks. But we're making do. You can still do the same ring crafts that we always do every league. It's just more expensive now. And so I'll do a quick explanation of what that means. So, you do suffixes cannot be changed, and instead of doing Veiled Chaos Orb, depending on how dirty your item is, when I say dirty, I'm talking about how many prefixes it has, you either scour the prefixes to make it clean, then do suffixes cannot be changed again, so you've spent 4 divines instead of 2. Right, so this is essentially doubling the cost of the craft, which is the downside, but you can still do it, right? So 4D, then you do the Veiled Chaos. Luckily, the difference here is it's guaranteed. It's always going to give you the Veil mod. It's never going to fill the prefixes, so there's no like 1 in 10 RNG to brick your entire item, so that's a good thing, but it is twice as expensive. Then you, again, block mana, unveil, and it's like a 78 or 80 something % chance to give you life. Then you craft on the mana roll, and you're good to go. Now, you don't technically have to block mana. I still think you should. The reason being that you want to have the flexibility to craft a specific mana roll, right? You see, I've got reduced damage. I've got damage taken recouped. That's actually really nice, as opposed to say life regen, which is still nice but less important, right? So having the choice of putting a specific mana roll on is preferable to me, at least. So I still block mana to unveil life. You can see I got Wed on the ring. This is a brick, but luckily the last prefix isn't as important. You would ideally want either, maybe an Conk Exalt or maybe Evasion or Energy Shield would be nice here as well. For the belt, just essence spammed. You get 3 good suffixes. Doesn't have to be life regen, just 3 good suffixes. And what I did, right? So you can see I settled pretty hard here. It's because of my budget. I didn't want to go too hard. But I basically just tried to get usable prefixes. You can't really force the mana on there. So you kind of have, this is the tricky part about a mana stacker, is you want mana, but you can't force it. So you can do Reforge, you can do Suffixes Cannot Be Changed, Reforge Life, and then try to slam on the mana. The good news is, as a caveat, it's very common. Ideally, what you would be doing though, is just essencing until you do get either a good life or a good mana roll. And here's the pro tip, right? Here's the pro tip, right? Let's say, for example, you essence a belt, and you have 3 good suffixes. You're good to go, right? You're happy, you're pog champing. You block, you know, a mod that you don't necessarily need, right? Like armor, for example. And then you exalt. Because if you get, like, let's say you've got, like, I think the way I made this belt is I had the mana roll when I essenced it, and then I just YOLO exalted on the life. Because exalts a dime a dozen. They're like maybe 10C, 11, yeah, they're 11C. And so if you just YOLO exalt, that can be a budget way. I think, you know, within like maybe a few tries, you'll end up with something pretty usable. Just essence spamming and exalt spamming and YOLOing. It's kind of the best method because life and mana, if you check this out, right? If it sounds like I'm coping, one, again, look, I settled, right? So this is a very basic craft. But if you look at the bell, you'll see the weightings for ES, life, and mana are way higher than anything else. And if you're blocking that armor roll before you exalt, it's very, 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 very likely to roll one of these 3. And they're all good. Actually, as Energy Shield is a good mod, by the way, and you could just craft on the mana roll. Ideally, you just want a combination of these 3. So, beautiful there. Now, onto some slightly more deterministic crafts. We have this boot and helm and gloves. Now, you can see what's happened here, right? Is I couldn't guarantee the mana because I couldn't buy fractured mana on the glove slot. There just wasn't any available. But you can see what I did on the helm and the boots is I bought the base. Now, I don't know how much these bases go for in your league at the time of you watching, but these were something like 50 to 100 chaos each at the time. I did obviously have a lot of chaos before the average person, so I managed to, you know, snipe these a bit earlier. I don't know if this is like cheap or expensive. I mean, it's fractured mana, right? I have no idea. But that's what I would do. It's definitely easier and cheaper to get fractured mana. Again, it's the most common weighting mod in the game. And you don't need tier 1, right? Unlike spell suppression, tier 2 or tier 3 or even tier 4 is totally reasonable. And it's going to hopefully be pretty cheap. The important thing to note is it's eye level 85. So this does allow you to get those suppression rolls. You can see I settled here. But the gloves and the helm are a little bit better. They have tier 2. So what do you do for all 3 of these crafts? Again, most likely essence spam. Essences, access to them was nerfed slightly, but they're still really, really, really good if you can get your hands on them. You could also just YOLO harvest spam the helm and the gloves. But the boots in particular do need to be essence spammed because we are getting our ailment immunity through our boots. So we have an Ancestral Vision right here, which is giving us 50 avoid, and then the rest is coming from the boot implicit, from the Eater influence, and then the Shrieking Essence of Loathing. You don't need Deafening. It's not too bad to just go for a Grand or a Greater if you want to save a little bit of money, because obviously Deafening Loathing is going to cost a fortune. And like I said, once you do get that suppression roll, what you do, remember the ring, you can do Suffixes Cannot Be Changed, Reforge Lightning, or Fire, or Cold, or Chaos, and that will guarantee res on the helmet and the boots. Not the gloves though. For the gloves, you have to go for Chaos res. So you'll most likely want to essence spam, you know, Fire, Cold, or Lightning res, go for Suppression, and then Reforge Chaos for the last suffix on the gloves. Because, like I said, gloves can actually roll other stats for Fire, Cold, and Lightning, unfortunately. So you can't force those stats, but you can force the Chaos res. Then for the prefixes, same as the rings, right? What you're doing is you're doing Suffixes Cannot Be Changed, and you can either go for Veiled mod, like the ring, or because life is the only roll on, again, on helm and boots, you can reforge life and then craft on either fizz damage taken as fire, which I have not got on my helmet yet, but I will be doing when I get more currency, and movement speed on the boots. For the gloves, you can still do, of course, reforge life, but you have a small chance to roll each. Not a problem though, because luckily all 3 slots you can Eldritch currency. If, you know, they fill, so you have that, like, get out of jail free card from the Eldritch Chaos or Annals. Then for the Amulet, luckily, no crafting. It's just a foilable. Now, people will tell you varying things about foilable. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? The short and sweet of it is, it's very hard to beat, in my opinion. It gives you a ton of recovery. As you can see, I actually have, with Arcane Cloak up and Arcane Surge up, 1300 mana regen, and a lot of this is due to my foilable. It's giving me 156 mana regen on top of a ton of raw mana. And the attributes as well is very nice. As you can see, it's giving me quite a decent amount of attributes there. So the foilable is really, 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 really good, but it is beatable. You would beat it with something like life, mana regen, cast speed, and another suffix or two. Another suffix or a prefix, sorry. So you can beat this, but it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. Then for the weapons. Now I get asked a lot about the weapons. The tech here, very simply, one, either getting fractured mana or hybrid. Hybrid is really good to fracture here. Or, alternatively, we're looking at, again, some of the highest weighted stats in the entire game. So what you can do is just get lucky and get hybrid and flat anyway. Easy clap. So I just woe essence these. Now, the second part of the weapon is the suffix. So, in the POB, the endgame juicer wand is this exact wand that I have here right now. This exact same wand, except you do... Prefixes cannot be changed, Veiled Orb, and then you either get double damage or focus damage or something like that, and then you craft on the stat that you're missing. But I don't have the balls right now to risk this weapon, because if it bricks, I'd be so sad. So I'm very happy to just keep it like this. I mean, this is a clean, very nice weapon. I'm not going to exalt it, because I will gamble eventually on the Veiled Orb Gamba. It's a 50-50. Well, actually, I think you can multi-mod... Prefixes cannot be changed, right? So I guess it's pretty decent odds of hitting, but yeah, I don't want to risk it. We'll do this later. But yeah, ideally you would be going for double damage and double damage while focused, and you just literally want two of these. I also get asked a lot: do you need wands, scepters, etc.? The answer is they both work. The main difference is the profane wand does give you more cast speed, which makes the build feel nice. I also get, someone in chat's pointing out, actually, do you go dual wield or shield? Again, you get a lot more mana, like a lot more mana from a wand and a lot more cast speed. So I think personally, the dual wield wand setup is the best. Scepters are good too, and they do give you access to Leap Slam if you really don't like Frostblink for some reason. But as you can see, it's pretty quick now, and it feels pretty amazing, so I'm very happy with it. But you do you. You know, there is some flexibility in the build, absolutely. And the final piece of gear is the chest. Now, the prefixes are not what I intended. If you look at the POB from Garatha, for example, or my POB from League Start, did not have a chest like this. But I got T1 mana and T3 life on an Exalt, so I just settled. I mean, that's an amazing craft regardless. But what you're supposed to have here is no life, no mana. You're supposed to go for evasion energy shield rolls to stack your evasion higher. So you can see my evasion's actually a little bit lower than I would like. It's only 13k without flasks and 22k with flasks. So it's a little bit lower than I would like. But I also have a lot more life and mana. As you can see, rocking nearly 9.3k mana, which is a large part of that is just due to this chest, right? I mean... yeah, it's giving me an extra nearly 400 mana, so can't complain too much about that. So the way I crafted this, again, you're going to see a similar theme here, is essence spam. You do essence spamming for suppression, and you can also force that last suffix on. So let's say you get a high lightning res roll, a high suppression roll, suffixes cannot be changed, Reforged Chaos. Again, that same tech still works, that's beautiful. The only thing that changed was obviously the Veiled Chaos prefix thing. And then, this is the only thing that's really different compared to all the other pieces of gear, because you're most likely not going to be able to get a fractured base for mana or whatever. You actually do Veiled Chaos for the prefixes, because life and mana are both good. Evasion energy shield mods are all excellent. So basically anything you get is good. You're just looking for high tiers and good combinations, like life and mana, or evasion flat, evasion hybrid percent. So Veiled Chaos is, not Veiled Chaos, Eldritch Chaos is what I used for this craft. Remember, you can also, of course, block and exalt and all that kind of stuff. And yeah. Now, I also get asked, how do I not die to physical damage? Because I am an evasion-based character, my elemental mitigation is really good, right? I have like 13.5k life, so to speak. And then with evasion, that means I'm very, very, very tanky to elemental damage and chaos damage. But how do I deal with physical? Heirophant gets 4 endurance charges. That's giving you 16% Phys right off the bat. You just get that for free, right? GG. The rest comes from chestcraft. This can roll up to 12%. I should literally go recraft this now at the bench. Literally. I think I divined this and I didn't. I forgot. Boom. 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 Wait. Oh, I'm stupid. So you get 12% here on the chest, and then you get up to 8% on the implicit and 8% on the Corel prefix, which I have not done yet. I'm still crafting the helmet. So that gives you a grand total of roughly 27% or so. On top of that, 16. And that's giving you just enough Fizz mitigation with that raw pool to actually survive with ease a Shaper Slam and even an Uber Shaper Slam. You probably still don't want to take an Uber Shaper Slam. It hits really hard. And if you have Arcane Cloak up and stuff, it's not too bad, but yeah, it hits really hard still. But you do survive. And you can even replace this Life Flask, which I probably should do now. Although I still haven't really solved Bleed Immunity yet. But you can even replace this with a Taste of Hate if you have a Corrupting Blood Flask. What else? I guess just to go over jewels really quick. You see I'm not running any cluster jewels, nothing too fancy. Probably the fanciest thing you can see is the Corrupted Soul. Now this is optional. It's very optional, but I like it. The reason being is, while it doesn't necessarily increase your total pool, like you do get Energy Shield, but that just kind of justifies the amount of points it takes to get. So you're not really getting tankier in that regard, but what you are getting tankier in is the other line on the mod. So a lot of people don't really understand what this does. 50% of non-chaos damage taken bypasses Energy Shield. What this essentially does, right, is it means that your Energy Shield no longer protects your life fully. And you might be thinking, why is that a good thing? It's because if you take damage at a split 50-50 and you both have sources of life and ES Leech, which we do from Light Eater and from our gloves, essentially we now double our recovery, because if I get hit for 1,000 damage, 500 to my life, 500 to my ES, and then I leech to both sources now instead of one. So essentially I've got way better recovery. So no longer are you getting randomly chunked all your energy shield. Your energy shield essentially stays up all the time now. So it's much, much, much safer for hardcore, in my opinion. You'll see, did some Shapers earlier, where thanks to Corrupted Soul, I could literally just face tank everything. Like the Shaper Beams, the Shaper Balls, like everything. And that's because of Corrupted Soul. Because it is giving me essentially double the recovery. So for that reason, I think Corrupted Soul is amazing. It's really nice. But it does mean you have to be really careful to look at your life. Because all of a sudden you do start taking life damage. Which can maybe catch you off guard. Because the difference here is if your energy shield goes to 0, it means you're really close to dying now. So you do gotta get used to that. But that's pure. You're not squishier. It's purely a visual thing. You just have to be paying a little bit more attention to. Other jewels are natural. This is just Trade League scum strat. You don't need this, but as you can see, if I go over here, it gives you that. It's beautiful. Tons of AoE, tons of mana, tons of cast speed. It's beautiful. And then we have 2 Watcher's Eye mods that I would recommend. I have max mana as ES. This is also why I'm running a level 1 clarity. As you can see, it gives me actually 1.1k energy shield now. 1.2k even. So this is giving me a ton of extra ES. The alternative mod is damage taken to mana. So basically like Mom. Yeah, damage taken from mana before life. That would probably be better, but this was a perfect 10% roll. Day like 2, I think, from Al Kaiser. So I just stacked it up. I was like, yeah, log in. So this is excellent. Then for the last jewel, we have Ancestral Vision, which I showed earlier for the Amulet immunity. And there it is. That's the build.